Hello everyone, this is Jacob with Perk Builders. This is my 2020 recap. These are all of the projects that I completed in the year 2020. And we're starting out with this really nice ADA deck. Now, this isn't fully ADA compliant because it doesn't have handrails on both sides, but because it's under 30 inches, it doesn't actually require a handrail anywhere by normal code. So this is what the homeowners wanted. They are disabled. These are just some detail shots. This is Ipe hardwood decking with all stainless steel screws, stainless steel tensile wire. You're seeing a shot there of some resin epoxy finish that I put on the handrails, and this is the transition that I custom made with aluminum, and it has grip tape. This was a pretty complex deck to frame, quite a few footings just because of the way the ramps work. You kind of need a beam or something for your framing to land on at every single point that you're changing directions. Anyway, so this is a pretty old rotten thing that I ended up rebuilding, and the homeowners had some ideas about how to redesign it. The budget wasn't huge, so obviously you can see it's a pretty simple approach, but absolutely revamped their undercover area there, which they've been using a lot during the pandemic. The thing that was there before, it was fine, but it was just rotten and it was time to go. It had that clear polyacrylic roofing on it and it was just shot and leaking. So these are some framing shots. Poured new footings for this one. And I did have to replace the ledger against the house there, so I actually doubled a ledger. There was an existing 2x6 in there that had gotten pretty wet over the years, so I actually put two 2x6s up against the house with some 6-inch ledger lock screws. This is the beginning of this art studio. I completed this one about the end of November. Really nice house here. They're using it as an art studio and also an office. So here's some interior shots. That's all CVG Doug fir. That stuff really finished out nice. I love doing trim like this. This I built really similar to the other art studio I did this year. Just using 1/4-inch sheets on the inside, finished plywood. The outside's kind of board and batten, but I got the rough sawn Doug fir and forest trim battens on there. And that project turned out really, really awesome. So the next thing we're going to move into is a remodel, which I kind of spaced out over 3 months. There were some trades that had to come in, and there was a couple little weights and things, and so I was actually working on that project in tandem with the art studio. And so the first shot that you saw there was this existing railroad second story. It was just one big open space, and it wasn't permitted as any type of living space. So there was an office that was already there and turned that into a bedroom. What you're looking at now is I had to put in 18 of these LVL beams in the floor system to carry the new master bathroom. So this is going to be a master bedroom, master bath. I had to cut in 2 new closets through these knee walls, and those had to have number 1 Doug fir headers. And there was a lot of different things I didn't like about the design, and I wasn't involved with that process. The homeowners came to me with a design from an architect, and I think some of the structural stuff was a bit overkill, but once it's on the plan, you have to do it. So here's my underlayment system for this shower. That is all Schluter. I have a Hydro Block base there, and then I coated everything with a waterproof coating, so it's kind of like a doubly waterproof system there for that shower. Some framing details, and here's how the shower finished out. That's a Chloe tile. I liked using it, but it's a bit inconsistent because they aren't perfect. So if you're a stickler for lines, you do have to kind of like move that stuff around to get it to look right. So yeah, we added a toilet. There's all sorts of different shelving and things. This little nook is like a workspace. So both of them work from home, so this kind of created a whole new space for them. 2 new big master closets with bypass doors. This is that front area that you come up the stairs into, which is now going to be just sort of like a floating sort of storage space. And that was that job. I was really happy with how that job turned out, and I think the homeowners were really happy too. Once again, working in not a tight budget, but I was one of the only people who was able to get them what they wanted at a price that they could afford, and that's always a good place to work in. So this next project I did over 5 weeks, and this was a work away from home project up in the Seattle area. There was a huge existing deck there. I can't remember how big it was. It was 2,000 square feet or something. We ended up eliminating a couple portions of the deck, and in the end, of course, I redecked this with 5/4 cedar, and I built a brand new stairway where part of the deck used to be so they could get down onto the lawn. This had really nice finishes on it. 12-inch forest trim fascia around the whole thing, painted up nice. All of the framing of the deck was salvageable. I think it's from about 2000, so there wasn't any rot really. I replaced a few little parts here and there, but for the most part, this deck was missing a ton of hardware from the original build. And you're seeing some shots now where I put on oil, and I just did the natural or the clear oil on this. I think the clear oil always gives you the best look. They really loved the way it looked with the cedar on it raw, which is of course going to really quickly change to a silver. And I once again, I love the tensile wire. The stainless steel, it's going to last forever. It gives you that much more view. They have a lake, not lakefront, but a great lake view of Lake Washington. It's a really huge house actually. So this job, very happy to complete it because I was gone for a long time, and man, so many screws went into this deck. It was ridiculous, and I work alone, so a project like this is it is a 5-week project. So here's a couple videos just to give you an idea of how big this project was. I had to completely rebuild all of the posts. I think there were 30-some posts, all of the rail cap, handrails, tensile wire, all the fascia and trim. I rebuilt a few of the smaller stair sections. There's some little bump-ins here that just added that much more decking. And all of it takes time. So yeah, it's just an expansive, massive deck. And one thing I really liked about this project, and I think it was the second time I did this, was using that 12-inch forest trim fascia on the outside of the stairway here. You can see that it kind of closes it in, and you almost have to do it this way for the tensile wire to pass code. Otherwise, right where those inlets of the stairs are from the side, you end up with too big of a gap to pass code. So that brings it right up to it. I think you can kind of see that there. Absolutely huge job. So this is a new construction ADU, and I just painted this thing. I do end up painting 3 or 4 houses a year. I didn't include all of them. I did include this one because this nice mid-century modern home was about to get sold, and they wanted to up the look. It was just all gray, everything gray. And so what I did was put in some of this clear hemlock trim, and that got a nice resin epoxy finish on it. And I just love the 3 colors that we did on this house. It was black and white and gray. Really nice. Oh, here's a little job, like a 2-day job. I did this garbage can enclosure. I was building into an existing deck that was a little old, and I think that turned out pretty nice. Nice little place to put your garbage. This was out on the Oregon coast. I used some Ipe for this, and I had to completely rebuild this stairway. It was fully rotten, and the original stairway that was there was ridiculous. It had like 10-inch stairs and 10-inch risers at least, and it was all pressure-treated wood, so it was just ugly as hell and rotten. And this I did, that's all painted cedar. and I kind of copied that fascia look on the outside edge of the stairs there. And now we're going into another really nice project. This was kind of a redeck. At least that first shot there, I redecked all of that. This is the existing. It was just a rotten sort of 5/4 cedar deck, and there's a couple shots here of an existing deck that I removed. I mean, that thing was 500 square feet. It was huge, and that's the stuff that you don't really see. Is most of the time when someone's building a deck, they're also removing a rotten deck, and that, it's hard work. This was a new Ipe deck, sort of the same approach. I like using a lot of cedar on the posts and rails, that tensile wire, and then the Ipe decking, it just lasts forever, and when you oil it down, which I didn't do on this deck, it just looks amazing. This thing turned out really nice. This was about a 2-week job, including the demo. I was pretty proud of some of these notches coming up to the house there. I was trying to just have it float off about 1/4 inch everywhere, and there was quite a bit of detail there. And I love doing the white kickboards. So the kickers on these, it's just painted forest trim, 1x, and it just gives it such a good look. And that house had just been painted white, and so we were able to match the color and everything. And when you can, that's always the best thing to do. So this is, just kind of a throwaway deck. It was for the people who I built this art studio for, so it was on their existing house. And, you got to fill your time with things like this, so it was probably a 3-day deck. I built out the inside of my tool trailer, which had been kind of a mess. And, it got to the point where I was acquiring so many tools and just odds and ends that it was kind of a pile inside. And so I spent almost 2 weeks, and this was right at the beginning of the pandemic. I had some time between jobs, and man, it turned out so good. I put in lighting. I've got a power inlet on the outside. I've got charging station, all sorts of different shelves and things I had the time to specifically make all of this storage for the tools and boxes that I have. So that was really cool. So now we're moving into this other art studio I did. This is out in Central Oregon. You can see me pouring the pad there, doing some concrete work. And this is the beginning of the framing. And I don't usually take a whole lot of progress shots. I mean, sometimes I do. This is what the studio looked like when I first got it sited. I really loved the rough side of that tongue and groove cedar, and they wanted this thing black. I don't think it looks bad at all, but that raw cedar could have also looked really good. The inside turned out great. They wanted really high quality windows because it gets quite cold out there, and they wanted a lot of natural light. So this had 4 skylights in it. And you can see the install there of the skylights. Just had composition roofing. That's kind of all that it needed. And that was, I think, about a 5-week project there as well. So I try to do projects where there's an end in sight. I am about to build a house this year, so we're kind of abandoning that methodology. In this last project here was a pergola, but I have a whole video series of building that thing, so these are just some shots. This was for a friend, so it wasn't, it didn't have like all of the finest finishes that you could want in a structure like this, but he did get this really cool custom welded steel hardware for that, and I loved using that because it was just perfectly designed for the dimensions of lumber that we had, so I wasn't doing a whole lot of notches and things like that. Oh, and here's a couple pictures of me, one being kind of serious, and another one where I'm smiling, and that's in front of a house that I built a few years ago. So anyways, thanks for watching. I haven't made a YouTube video in a long time because it's honestly just too much work. But maybe I will in the future.